Hello and welcome to a short video on how I use AI. This morning I was just trying to think of how to put together a syllabus for a class I need to teach. Some of the variables are changing and it's kind of complicated because it's going from 3 days a week to 1 day a week. And it's also going from 8 weeks in duration to 16 weeks. So there's just a lot of pieces that are changing there. So I thought to myself, hey, this might be something that I could spend hours on in my free time, or I could see if AI could really help make that conversion and change the schedule and do all the formatting and adapt all the assignments and the timings of the lectures over. So we're just going to see how that works, and hopefully if it works really well, you'll have gained an insight into how everyday tasks can be incorporated with AI to try and save time. So let's take a few minutes just to take a look at that, and hopefully you'll walk away with something that could be useful to you in your own use of AI. So first of all, I'm going to open up the syllabus that I have. This is for a class on the life and writings of Ellen White. Last year when I taught it, it was 3 days a week. This coming semester, it's going to be 1 day a week. So I need to figure out how to basically format it so that instead of teaching 3 days a week for 50 minutes, it'll be 1 day a week for a little bit longer than that. So I've already put together a basic prompt just so that you don't have to watch me type the whole thing out. But let me just walk you through what I've put here so that you can begin to see kind of my thinking process. And then when I test it, you'll see we'll probably have to iterate a couple times to get it just right. So right here we have the general prompt last spring. I taught a class that occurred Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from this date to this date, from this time to this time, which was 150 minutes for 8 weeks total. So it was a half semester class. I'm converting it to a 16 semester class now. So I'm saying during the spring of 2025, the same class will occur this time as follows. And then I explain, first of all, I give the new dates with the start date and the end date. It's Mondays, which is of course the second day of the week, but I'm going to refer to that as the first day of the week because it's the first day of the school week, so to speak. And then I have the time here, so it is from 4 to 5:20 once a week for 16 weeks. So no matter how you really break it down, that's completely different. If you take the math of that right there, it's just not quite the same. It's 80 weeks times 16. So you end up with 1,280 minutes versus 150 times 8, which would have been 1,200. So there's a little bit of a difference there between the 1,200 and 1,280. I have a little bit more time to teach this time, which is great. I'll be able to probably recap on some stuff a little better. So then I have to explain a few other things. One of them is spring break, because spring break I don't have any assignments. I don't want there to be any assignments, as you can see. So when I pasted the schedule in here, which it will use as the template, I just have to really spell it out. I do not want anything to occur then. Nothing occurs. It should still be listed, however, in a row corresponding with the week number, because it's still 1 week out of the semester. And then finals week, I give the dates for that. I ask it to make sure the final exam is listed for this week and not earlier. So that's just to prevent it from when I've trial run it before. What's happened is it's accidentally put nothing on finals week, not even the final. So I don't want that to happen. And then there'll be 1 reading reflection per week from weeks 2 to 15. That may or may not change because I think I only had like 7 or 8 reading reflections originally. But anyway, we'll see what it does here. So help me convert it down to the new weekly format, distributing the topics and assignments naturally across the 16 weeks. Return in the format of a table with the same columns as the original. That's important because I want each column to be retained. So what I do now is I take this this essential schedule that I have put in here. I copy it, and this is just what I got from the Word document. I threw it into my Note app, UpNote, just because it works with Markdown, and Markdown is the format that all AI apps typically output as. So I just like to have it in a Note app that can handle that. And so now what I'll do is I will open up the AI that I use, which is ThinkBuddy. You can use ChatGPT or Anthropic's Claude, doesn't really matter, Google's Gemini. They're all ultimately the same, but the reason why I use ThinkBuddy is because it allows me to use multiple models at once. So I'm going to use O1 Mini. I'm going to try Gemini Pro, and I'm going to do Claude Sonnet. And I'm just going to see how they fare comparing kind of each of these. If O1 Mini is not good enough, maybe I'll pick O1. Sometimes I'm just tempted to just always use the best, but sometimes it just takes longer because of processing time. And then there's this remix models option that's unique to ThinkBuddy. When it runs all 3 queries at the same time, it will do kind of a combination of all of them, fixing them all into one, and we'll see what that looks like. So I'm going to paste in what I copied here, and I can click and see what I submitted. That looks right. So it's converted the table into just text, which happens with ThinkBuddy. And I'm going to hit enter, and let's see what it does. So immediately Gemini starts pumping out. We see Claude pumping out as well. It's separated out the week and the date, which is not what I wanted. Week was supposed to include the week and date in one column, but that's okay. I can iterate. So it looks like Gemini did it right, but output it as code for some reason. But I think that'll be recognized when I copy that over. Let's see here. If I copy that into here, yeah, it pastes in just fine. So that actually doesn't look too bad. It's got the 16 weeks. But let's see what OpenAI Mini did. Okay, it also did the same thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to see what the best of all of these was. The remix, where it combined all of them, it still kept the week and date separate. So I'm just going to say keep the week and date columns as one column. And I think that's the only thing I need to change for the time being. So I'm just going to say that, and we'll wait for that to output. So while we wait for that, you can see immediately with Gemini and Claude, which are the quickest. I like the fact that Gemini is abbreviating the term week, but the output's essentially identical for the rest. So they've kind of done the task the same way, which is good. It shows me that I'm getting something that is probably accurate and consistent. So I will look at that. I also need to make sure that none of the assignments are skipped. So just looking at this initially, I'm seeing that I see a lot of reading reflections here, but I'm not actually seeing like what they were supposed to read. So it looks like Gemini and Claude have skipped that. I'll have to see if that's the same case here. So when I originally submitted it, did it include it? It did. So it's excluding the reading assignments. So once again, I'm going to have to iterate for that. So I'll have to go in and I'll say, you excluded the reading assignments from the assignment due column. Please include those back in, since they were in the original example from last year. And I'm just spelling it out, because the more you spell it out, the more context you give the AI to work. So let's see here. You're absolutely right. My apologies for omitting the reading assignments. I realized it did that. Here's the corrected version. So now it's beginning to spit those back in. So is that correct? Well, not entirely, because it's throwing the first reading assignment, which is supposed to be in week 2, and the instructions I think also said that should start in the second week. But anyway, I can keep iterating. That's the benefit of this. And of course, there comes a point where it's just faster to do it yourself too. But at the very least, what I've gotten here is a breakdown where it has done a phenomenal job of splitting things down. So let me go ahead and copy. I'm going to just copy the OpenAI's O1 Mini, because that's probably the most detailed. Let's paste that in. I'm going to delete the other sample I had here. And I'm going to create a divided line. Okay, just so I can have it. And then, okay, here is the final version. Now, one benefit of the O1 Mini is they also add some formatting. So there's a lot of bold, and things are organized a little bit more neatly. So now I can look through and say, okay, is this what I want? So with that said, I'll open up Microsoft Word, and I'll compare the two, and let's just see, like, how well did this do. So the first week, there's a class overview. Yes, I have a class overview. Then I've got the first presentation. Now, obviously, I can't do like 3 days worth of presentations in one day, even though I've got a little bit of extra time each day. So some things may need to get bumped down a little bit, and that's okay. I can work with that. The key is that it has done the heavy lifting for me and already split it up over 16 weeks. So I don't have to, open up a spreadsheet and fiddle around with that. I've got the final exam and the final exam week. That's correct. Spring break is in the right place. 317. So I've got to just double check and see if that's correct. Yep, that's correct. So yeah, I mean, essentially what it's done is it's done the heavy lifting. Now I just need to do the double checking. That'll take 5 minutes. I'll probably have to iterate a few things. But overall, I think it's done a good job. I'll obviously check when the assignments are due and just make sure that those are all correct. But as you can imagine, this saves a fair amount of time. So I hope this has been a good overview. I've had to iterate a couple once or twice, so you've kind of seen that process of when something goes wrong. You just tell it what it did wrong and it corrects it. So I hope that's helpful to you, and I hope that as you use AI, that you'll start thinking in that way as well. Try to anticipate all the problems as I did here, and then when there are issues, keep going back and saying, no, change this or change that. Probably something that I'll do as I go through here is I don't need the word assignment in here because that's the name of the column. So I could just tell the AI, remove the term assignment from each row because it's already at the header. Or I can just do it manually because, quite honestly, it'll only take a few seconds. So anyway, hope that helps and have a good day.